Hey guys, Meticulous Maynard here. Got another update here on the Forester XT. Today we're going to be focusing on trying to get a little bit more of this back end of the car back together. Still a bunch of work to do, but just taking a look at the general scope of the project, I think it makes sense to try to get some stuff tidied up back here. So let's dive right into that. Okay, so one of the things we're going to focus on in this episode is getting the new rear sway bar squared away. This here is a white line rear sway bar. It's adjustable. It's got the 3 different positions. I'll probably be driving it in the softest setting most of the time, unless I go to the track or something and I determine I need more roll control. It actually usually comes in silver, but I've just taken some Rust-Oleum and just hit it up real quick. It'll probably need another coat before it's ready to go. But I kind of wanted to match. I have a Super Pro sway bar up in the front, and it's about the same color blue. So OCD me is obsessed with trying to make sure that all that stuff matches. Over here on the bench, I've got my sway bar brackets here. But when you have the nicer sway bar, the heavier sway bar, I should say, on the car, it transmits a lot more force through these brackets. And I don't know if you can see from the video here, but these are pretty thin. Obviously, they're super crusty too, but I'll fix that soon. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some additional pieces of plate metal, and we're going to run them here and here so that it stiffens up this whole thing, and the forces exerted on the car from situations like rolling in hard corners and such gets transmitted more evenly through this bracket. I was looking at my reference photos wrong, and I thought that this was on the left side of the car, when in fact, let's not drop it. It's the right side, because they stamped it right into the sheet metal. So you can't mess it up, right? Probably still will. So I'm going to throw these in the sandblaster and get these all cleaned up, because we want to get all that rust off them before I even start welding. So I brought all the parts over to the sandblaster to try to get those all cleaned up, and everything just was taking so long, probably because my air compressor is just, one of these little guys and doesn't really have the volume needed to really power that thing. So it was taking forever just to strip these little pieces. Like, it could work maybe like this section, and then I have to wait for the compressor to recharge, and then like this section, and then on the inside, oh, forget it, with all the caked on rust, it was taking forever. So I went back to wire wheeling, and surprisingly, it's faster than using the sandblaster. So I'm going to finish up these other brackets, get those cleaned up, and then we'll put some plates on them, fab them up, and get a coat of paint on them. Okay, with everything cleaned up, I've now got these things pretty much back to bare metal. There's a little bit of rust hazing I can still see, but the POR will cover that just fine. So I was trying to find some similar thickness metal to what we have here to reinforce this with. Just as a reference, we take our calipers on this, and we've got a hair over an 1/8 inch or something. So 1/8 inch sheet stock, 3/16, something in that realm would actually be perfect for what we're going for. And I found in the scrap metal pile, a little rusty, but wire brush, what else is new? And if I put my calipers on this, it comes back pretty much right at 100 thou. 0.1 of an inch thick, and that should be sufficient to reinforce these brackets here. I'm not sure if I want to do just one side or both sides, but I'll just start cutting stuff and seeing how I feel about it. Cut that guy, have it tuck right into the bracket like this. I think that'll add the most strength to it. And I was thinking more about, one side, 2 sides, and if you look at most of the aftermarket ones on the internet, they're only one-sided, and I'm even just looking at that, and that's going to be so much stronger than just, the bare U. So I'm going to take this one that I cut, use it as a template to cut the next one, and then we'll weld these up real quick. Still smoking from all the welding. So I did passes on both sides just to make sure these things are tough as can be. So I'm pretty happy with this. So once these cool off, I'll slap them with some POR and move on to the next item on our list. You know, I gotta say, there's one thing that's super satisfying when you're working on projects. And that's when you get to the point in the job when you can open up your first hardware bag and start to put things back on the car. With these brackets painted and the sway bar itself painted, I can actually get this tucked up under there real quick. So I'm going to jump right on that now. I'm just going to slide this mat up and we're going to take a look at getting it mounted on the bottom. Well, it's certainly much easier to install a sway bar when there's nothing in your way. So I don't have to deal with a muffler going through here, which that's what that hoop is in the sway bar. That's for the stock location muffler. There's usually evap stuff all throughout here. And usually you'll see on other guides for installing sway bars and such, in order to pull this bolt here for the sway bar link, you need to pull the front half of the whole evap system down. So without that in my way, it's pretty much trivial for me to come in here, slap in my reinforced brackets, which that's the little tag that I welded in there, and just throw everything together real quick. So pretty happy with how that came out. Obviously not going to worry about my sway bar links until sometime in the future when I have control arms to connect them to, but no big deal. So one problem I'm running into as I'm cleaning up the body here is that if I go down into this internal cavity and I shine my light down so we can actually see what's going on, there's a fair amount of rusty crusty on the inside of this frame member here, and it's mostly here in the back. And if I look on the opposite side, it's not nearly as crusty, rusty, terrible back here. So it's mostly on this side, the driver's side here, that I've got this stuff. And I'm worried that if this doesn't get treated, that I'm just gonna see internal rot. We spent so much time down here getting this all pretty, so might as well try to protect it as best I can. But this is about as far in as I could get, just with a hand wire brush and painting with the POR on a paintbrush. So this is one of those moments when necessity is the mother of invention. Enter this guy. Take the dingus, put it in the hole. It's a little floppy. And I get both the extended reach and also a little bit of power tool action going on down there. Oh, it's a little hard. There we go. Works pretty well, I gotta say. And all I did was take a normal wire brush and with this exact blade cut this slot here, then just epoxied it right in place. And afterwards I took my angle grinder with a flap wheel and I took all the teeth off it just so it's not, you know, some abomination of a tool. And it actually works really well, because look at all this stuff that's now been knocked up. So that cleans that up really well, and it goes in just about as deep as I need it to as well. So I'll just take like some internal frame coating now and spray the inside of that, clean that up, and then I can get the bumper back on the car. Nice. So for this, I'm gonna just go and use Eastwood's little extended reach internal frame coating spray here. This stuff's really useful, I swear. I'm not sponsored by Eastwood, although, guys, if you're listening, would appreciate it. So what we're gonna do is, so it has this little extension that comes off the spray can, and you run it down into the area that you want to paint, and then you press on the top of the spray can, and it sprays out on the tip, kind of in a conical fashion. There are not enough hands in the world to do what I want to do. Can I go like this? So you can see it kind of just shoots out a bit of a mist from either side and helps hit all the internal faces of this, and that's just going to help protect the rest of this from rust. And when you're done, it looks like this. So everything is now nice and clean and painted, so that should protect it from rotting out. So now I have to focus on the crash bar that goes over into these two slots, get that cleaned up, back on the car, and then I can look at getting the bumper on. So on further inspection, looking at the crash bar that came off my car, I've got some problems. So you can see here, and it's not just on this side. If you go on the other side, you can see the same thing has happened. The aluminum has just completely rotted out from all the corrosion that exists up here in New England. And yeah, that's not going to stop a crash if somebody's to rear end me. So that needs to be fixed. Luckily, there are other cars that don't drive in our highly corrosive roads. And so I picked up this crash bar secondhand from a car in Florida. So everything is super clean on this. The brackets that came off of it are in pretty good shape. I mean, if we compare the old ones on this that came off my car, like I started to wire brush these and I was like, yeah, no, that's not stopping an impact. So even the brackets that came off of the car, the used one that is, like, there's a little bit of exposed metal there, but like this thing is hardly, the paint's still on it. Like this is practically brand new. So the only thing I'm going to do differently, pardon that, because this is actually caused, yes, it's caused by the rock salt on the roads, but actually what this is this is galvanic corrosion caused when you combine two dissimilar metals and put them together. So in this case, you can pretty much see where it's corroded is where those gussets are on this piece. And so what's happening is the two metals are kind of eating at each other, and road salt gets introduced, and it works like a catalyst, and it just makes this stuff disintegrate. We see this all the time up here in the Northeast. So one really common method that I've seen online to deal with some of this bimetal corrosion is to use what's referred to as polypropylene tape, which I think there are many different varieties, but I just went on eBay and found something that was actually described as polypropylene tape just to make it safe. But really all this is it's just a layer of plastic that you put between the steel and the aluminum, and it creates a barrier and prevents the two from actually starting to etch each other away. So I'm going to slap this anywhere where the steel and the aluminum contact, and then I'll start to reassemble this crash bar. So that now assembled, I'm now looking at getting this whole crash bar attached back to the body, and it goes right into these pockets we were cleaning up previously. So everything's looking pretty good. I just got the jack under it to support it, because if I don't, it's going to want to flop on out. And there are tabs down on the inside that it seats into that keeps it from sliding out somewhere around here-ish, I think. The only thing now is that I've got to get my trailer hitch mounted back up under here because it shares these holes that go to the crash bar. So I'm going to throw that on jack number 2 over there and kind of get it positioned up underneath this and then slap it all in. So with that, I'll wrap it up here. I still have a lot of work ahead of me getting the bumper cover on, and I'll be going over that in the next episode. I'll leave you guys here with a time lapse of me getting the crash bar and trailer hitch installed in the car. Thanks for watching, everyone. Make sure to do the usuals. Hit that like button, subscribe, and comment below. I'll catch you guys all next time.